everybody's human, right? And we all want to have fun, and a big part of that. I mean, we're playing games on our phones, even our apps. The apps that we use every day, they're gamified. There's an engagement to them, and I think if you give people that and you give them solid content, interesting content, that's how you get messages across. So, yeah, kudos.
Hello, my name is Robert Schmidt. I'm Deloitte's Chief IoT Technologist. Welcome to my show, Coffee with Mr. IoT. Today, my guest is Carlson Bull from Bully Entertainment. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. I want to do this sort of like this is a little bit of behind the scenes show today.
Yes.
Gotta tell people behind what scenes?
Behind the duck factory scenes, yes. So I can talk about what we did, why we did it. Duck Factory 2 is the latest installment, hopefully not the last installment of our augmented reality factories. And we built it to engage people coming into the show with something that they would be talking about and want to share, and something that they could learn about some use cases that Deloitte has, is promoting.
So we all talk about smart factory all the time, and about a year and a half ago or so, we decided we want to bring the smart factory to life through augmented reality, and so you and I started working back then. When I asked you first to make the factory life size, what was your first reaction?
It was good. It was a good challenge.
Had you ever done it before?
We had never done it before. We had done something there's a big billboard in Toronto that we spawned something, but nothing like this, and nothing as interactive and as engaging, I think. So yeah, it was a great challenge. I think it turned out well.
So this year we took it a step further.
Yep.
Right. Last year we had one factory line. This year we have a whole factory floor. Tell us a little bit about. Give us a behind the scenes. Someone like myself, I come up with and say, "Hey, let's do a factory floor with 8 use cases." What happens behind the scenes? How do we go about this? Give people some sort of insights.
Sure. Well,
you feel free to share the stuff you didn't tell me before.
All right, good. Well, first off, it's always a great challenge, but and we always go back, or I always go back, and the guys kind of say, okay, here it comes again, and what's great is that I've got a great team that understands the technology and then can figure out how to make it work. So for this one specifically, we needed to make sure that it was even more engaging, more fun. And what was great is that we had the Duck Factory 1 to build off of. And we said, okay, how can we make that even stronger? How do we make that even more interesting? We come from a storytelling background, and I know you come from the game world. So we thought, okay, what can we do to these ducks to make them more interesting? How would this factory evolve? And started thinking about different products that might be kind of future products of what rubber ducks might turn into, and came up with a duck line. At the same time, really working with you and the rest of the crew, understanding the smart factory process and some of the use cases that you guys talk about, and tried to piece those together. Okay, so how could we get Bubble Duck, which is one of the products that we were imagining?
Bubble Duck,
yes. How could we get that or configure that so that it would work with a sub-assembly line or crew planning or factory asset intelligence? How could we play around with the different components and how it was designed and how it might be produced in an actual factory, and come up with something engaging. So.
I laughed when you said, you go back and tell the team, right? I wonder is there a big poster with my face that they shoot at? Because it's like, oh my God, there's another Robert idea coming.
No, I think, what's amazing is that I think you've got a great vision, and that's always fun. And I think the fact that you see the value of presenting this content in a very fun and engaging way, you're one of our favorite clients. If not, you are our favorite client.
Oh, thank you.
No,
that's not what you said 4 weeks ago when I approached you.
No, it wasn't. But even then, I think one of the things that we really appreciate is creativity and the creative vision and having somebody like you who can say, we need to build something great. And help us, and you come to us and we help, form that vision and form that, make that a reality. That's fun. That just makes, and we had a lot of fun. I think I can talk for the guys. I'm sure everybody's sleeping, because for sleep deprivation.
They had no weekends for a few weeks, didn't they?
For the last couple of months even, but I think we're all very proud of it, and we love the creativity. We love that you love Easter eggs, because we've got them all through the whole, piece. So
there's a part of this that I told this story to my team. We are at LiveWorks, right? And we just had sort of like everybody got trained on the app and walk around. But my thing was people need to have an experience, and I had this experience when I demoed this to a client of ours. And I rolled out the old markup, 40 foot by 10, right? And I pulled out the iPad, and I think I'm like doing a great job of demoing to like 15 people how this all looks. And suddenly I'm realizing I'm losing half of the group behind me. And what I realized is they all had their phones out, and they were all walking around on the markup by themselves looking for things. And I realized this is really what this is all about. It's about creating an experience rather than talking to them. I want them to have an experience. And it's always this really fine line for me personally where I want to get content across as much as I want them to have an experience and enjoy it. And it's a fine line. I never quite know where to go. I mean, the first time we talked about, you were there, right? What did you think when I said we're going to make rubber ducks?
I thought it was a great idea. I mean, I think we actually started with cups initially, and I think we ended up with rubber ducks. But it's so much more engaging, right? If you, not to discredit or downplay paper or plastic cups, but seeing a rubber duck, seeing that kind of character, and being able to empathize with it, or it's just a playful thing, and I think you really need that playful experience, especially nowadays, to engage, and you need engagement to communicate. So that's why I think the hopefully this exhibit works well, this installation works well, because it's playful, gets people to come in, look around, explore, and ideally they learn something as well.
I guess the techie term is gamification. Since it's a behind the scenes, I think I'll share my own part of this too. It was sort of funny, right? Because when we came up with the rubber ducks, I wasn't quite sure how the bigger Deloitte audience will react to that. And so I sent a colleague of mine a text and said, what do you think about rubber ducks? And he thought it was a good idea, and I trusted his judgment as much as mine. And I have to say, I am so surprised how within Deloitte, where we have a lot of different constituents in a lot of different areas, and where we really want to cater to people in a meaningful way, people just engage with the rubber ducks and like it. And you know what the thing was that surprised me the most? I thought I'm going to get the most pushback on? Having a application icon with the rubber duck inside that says Deloitte underneath it. I thought that's never going to go through, and how I got that through I still don't know, but I'm really proud of that.
That's awesome. Well, I think just to talk a little bit about that point, I think everybody's human, right? And we all want to have fun, and a big part of that mean, we're playing games on our phones, even our apps. The apps that we use every day, they're gamified. There's an engagement to them. And I think if you give people that and you give them solid content, interesting content, that's how you get messages across. So, yeah, kudos.
Yeah, I've heard that we remember much more when we are. How much we remember depends on how we feel about stuff. So that's a good point around this. So I'm curious. One of the things we talk about the app a lot, but we also did something else new this year, which is the comic book. Just share a little bit with the audience how that came about and so forth.
So that was an interesting challenge as well. We had never done a comic book, and going through that process, we had done lots of illustrations and had always have produced a whole number of things, but. Going through that process, I think, was eye-opening. It was frustrating at times, but I think
frustrating?
Well, I think
besides me asking for more all the time,
it was trying to figure out the balance between the telling the story and communicating the use cases and the concepts that we were trying to get across in a comic book form. And I think one of the turning points on that really was getting some great writers in, who could, and so kudos to you on that too, but who could take those concepts and then weave a story around it. And just like the rubber ducks, it gives for the AR factory, it gives somebody something to grab onto, something fun to grab onto, and I think that's where the story really helped with the comic book.
So there's a comic book, and the comic book tells a story. By the way, the story, it's written by true Hollywood writers, right? Brad Gann wrote Invincible and a variety of other movies, and Stephen List, his colleague, they did a great job. I thought it was just so much fun to do it with them, not having done that before. But there's a story. The story is about Smart Factory, but there's something else special about the comic book. What's so special beside the fact that there is a fun story and there's a hero and there's Yoda under quotes and so forth? What else goes on with the comic book?
So there's an AR component. We built in each one of the storylines. We built in the use cases into the storylines, and on those pages. So
I don't have to be on the show floor here. I can actually call up the use cases out of the comic book.
Correct. So there's an icon that indicates where those use cases are, but every page has an AR element. Again, kind of like a little Easter egg that comes up and gives a little behind the scenes of the story, the comic story as well. Some good ones in there too.
I had so much fun when we started writing the background to the people and what we came up with to the various characters in there. It was a lot of fun. So we have a new application, Virtual Factory by Deloitte, the version 2. Which is now not just a few use cases on one factory line, but eventually it's going to be 7 or 8 use cases.
Yes.
You can swipe through the different use cases. Yep. We have a 30 by 30 foot marker that we show people at LifeWorks, but also we can bring to our clients, which brings up a life-size factory. Then we have a comic book that people can take home with. Not only is it fun to read, but it also actually has useful content. Yep. My wife actually read it. I thought she's going to laugh. Instead, she told me that she learned a lot what I do at work. I thought that was almost a compliment.
Yeah, that's great. That's perfect.
Did your wife read it?
She has not. My kids have, though.
Oh, what did your kids say?
They liked it. They were wondering if I was Clark. So,
oh, really?
If I was the character, yes. So.
You were Clark. Interesting.
Yeah.
The thing that's so funny about some of this to me is that you got to give these people names, right? Mm-hmm. So then you have these conversations. What do we call the hero of the comic book? And so we come up with the name Clark, and and then what's the duck called?
Dub.
Duck.
Yeah.
The Yoda of the Smart Factory, so to say.
Yeah.
Do we want to tell people why Dub, or do we want them to actually look in the app?
So you find out at the back of the app, right?
Oh, okay. So we're not going to tell them. I like that.
No. They got to
So,
find out for themselves.
Back of the very comic book in the empty word bubbles. Put
Yep.
your phone on there, download Virtual Factory by Deloitte, and you get to see why Dub. So I shared my sort of like fun moments out of this. What were your, there's this game that I used to play with my kids, the high and the low of all of this. Give us your low and your high.
So I think the high today, seeing the factory floor laid out, I thought it looked great, it looked beautiful. And then,
today, because we are filming this at setup of the show, right?
Yeah. So and we saw the 30 by 30 foot marker, and then we got the apps out, and it worked, looked beautiful. And I think part of that, the cool factor there was just seeing people's faces, the kind of, when they started seeing it, and just smiles, and we were just, watching somebody walking around and literally for 10 minutes finding all the different Easter eggs, went through it certainly, but finding the different hidden items that were in it. I think that's definitely the high. Low, it was probably a couple months ago trying to figure out how the hell we'd get everything in there and get it delivered. So I'm glad that's behind us. And
I remember, I don't know if it was the same moment, but I think for me it was, we were sitting in Dallas actually in the office. We had to rent a special room because we needed a 30 by 30 space. And you showed me the first iteration, and as much as I was impressed with the 30 by 30, I was missing this experience level. And I was like, oh my God. Was that the same moment? That was your low too?
It's probably about that time. Yeah. It's probably about that time. But we pulled it together. I think it turned out quite well, and has a nice engagement factor. So
I think one of my highs was when I saw the comic book. I got like the true printout in the mail, and I looked at it, and it was just like, I don't know, there's something really meaningful in having a paper copy of something that's so creative and so awesome. The artist who drew the comic book, what's his name, and tell us about him a little bit.
So
it's him, right?
Yeah. So Adam, he's he is great artist, great creative. He actually is going to have a baby quite soon.
Congratulations.
And he actually, because we were adding a couple pages to the comic book at the end there, he and his wife canceled a trip to Italy.
Oh my God, I didn't even know that. I'm so sorry.
The last of the vacation. The last vacation before the baby was due. So we owe him big time. I think he did a fantastic job on that. So.
Adam, you rock. And to your baby's mom, I'm so sorry.
But yeah, he did a great job.
Did he have a good time doing it?
I think so. I think he did. I think once we finally got going on the correct storyline, it all came together.
That's awesome. Anything else about behind the scenes that you think we should share with people that look at the app, look at the comic book?
There's a lot in there, So I think we have seven use cases in there. We've got the old factory line as well, a digital version of the comic. Lots to interact, lots to play with. Make sure in the non-AR versions that people, that you can look around, because as opposed to last year's where we had a set camera, this year we wanted to make sure that people could look around and see all the detail that we've built in there. So it was fun. It was a fun experience. So thank you.
So I have to tell you, thank you. You did a great job. The team did a great job. I always enjoy our collaboration.
Good team.
And I have to tell you that I've already had people come to me and ask me about the next volume of Dub.
Awesome.
And I've also had people already ask me for new use cases within the app, so the swiping will get longer and wider.
Good,
which I'm
good.
looking forward to. I had some oil and gas interest. And I immediately thought that, well, rubber ducks are made out of rubber. Rubber comes out of oil and gas, so therefore there's already a connection to rubber ducks.
Brilliant.
So I'm sure we're going to go further back on how Dub was born or something like that. So we'll see how we
I
go
like
about
it.
that.
I like it. Awesome.
Thanks so much, Carlson.
Thank you.
Thanks for being
Appreciate
here.
it.
Thank you for doing everything you do, and thanks for putting up with me and the team.
Thanks to you and the team.
Yeah,
Really
so
appreciate the
that's
vision.
good. With that, Coffee with Mr. IT is coming to an end. I appreciate it. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe. And for any past shows, look at our playlist, Coffee Chat with Mr. IoT, and I'll see you next Friday.